Hello, everybody. I am Tyler D. Wolf, and today's wiki read is World War II battles. The first one we are going to start off with is the Battle of Dunkirk. Now we're going to go through. You'll see it in the description. A couple of the battles. I'm doing like an offshoot, going for like an hour on here. Now having fun. Any kind of attention you're willing to give it, fucking pass it on, share it up with other people. Really appreciate it. But definitely love to do this for a living. Going through doing wiki reads, just pulling stuff up, trying to do some more comedy, hitting shows. You know, Definitely would like to hopefully, definitely in the future, you know, fix this foot and, get the surgery I need. So, loads of fun there. And that's it. Well, watching Will Sasso and Dan Soder earlier on Chris Van Valet, yeah, Chris Valet podcast, where they talk about wrestling. I gotta say, some of those guys with the impressions and the voices they can do right off the rip, like they know some of that off the top of their head, just amazing, just hilarious as shit. Not get enough of those two guys. I mean, they both had it for a decade plus, just going. I mean, Dan Soner being on Billions and having so many different stand-up specials, being an arena tour, you know, just having fun and doing it. Sasso too. Fucking that guy's been at it for a long ass time. He's the same squinch. For those of you that know Trailer Park Boys out there. All right, so Battle of Dunkirk. Okay, this article is about the Second World War II battle in 1940. For details about the massive evacuation of Allied troops from Dunkirk, see Dunkirk evacuation. Okay, so the Battle of Dunkirk, in French it is Bataille de Dunkirk, 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 and was fought around the French port of Dunkirk, Dunkirk, during the Second World War between the Allies and Nazi Germany. As the Allies were losing the Battle of France on the Western Front, the Battle of Dunkirk was the defense and evacuation of British and other Allied forces to Britain from May 26th to June 4th, 1940. Soldiers from the British Expeditionary Force fired at low-flying German aircraft during the Dunkirk evacuation. Soldiers were strafed and bombed by German aircraft. And you already know the date. The belligerents is the United Kingdom, France, Belgium, Netherlands, and Nazi Germany. Germany. Commanders and leaders for the French, they had Maxime Weygand, Georgius Blanchard, Rene Preux, J.M. Charles Abriel, and for Britain they had Lord Gort. For Germany they had Gerd von Restedt, Fedor von Bach, Ewald von Kleist. Huh, that is a strong German name. Ewald von Kleist. Strength. For the Allies side, they had approximately 400,000, with 338,226 evacuated, versus the Germans with an approximate 800,000. Estimated total casualties for the Allied side would be 61,774 killed, wounded, or captured. For the French, that is 18,000 killed, 40,000 prisoners, 30 destroyers. British is 3,500 killed, 41,000 prisoners, 63,879 vehicles, including tanks and motorcycles, 2,472 field guns, 6 destroyers, 23 destroyers damaged, 89 transport ships, 177 aircraft destroyed or damaged in total, 127 belong to RAF Fighter Command. For the Germans, they had 200,000 killed or wounded, 100 tanks, 240 aircraft in theater, and 156 aircraft on Dunkirk front. After the Phony War, the Battle of France began on May 10th, 1940. To the east, the German Army Group B invaded the Netherlands and advanced westward. In response, the Supreme Allied Commander, French General Maurice Gamelin, initiated Plan D, because A, B, and C had already tried and failed. And British advanced troops entered Belgium to engage the Germans in the Netherlands. French planning for war relied on the Maginot Line fortifications along the German-French border, protecting the region of Lorraine, but the line did not cover the Belgian border. German forces had already crossed most of the Netherlands before the French forces had arrived. Gamelin instead permitted the forces under his command, three mechanized forces, the French 1st and 7th Armies, and the British Expeditionary Force, or the RAF, to the River Dyle. On 14th of May, German Army Group A burst through the Ardennes and advanced rapidly westward towards Sedan, turning northward to the English Channel using General Feldmarschall Erich von Manstein's plan. Initial Schnitt under the German strategy, Bulgaria, effectively flanking the Allied forces. A series of Allied counterattacks, including the Battle of Arras, failed to sever the German spearhead, which reached the coast on May 20th, separating the BEF near Armentières, the French First Army, and the Belgian Army. Further to the north were the majority of French troops, south of the German penetration. After reaching the channel, the German forces swung north along the coast, threatening to capture the ports and trap the British and French forces, straight up isolate them and just fucking cut them off. This strategy. Isolate, destroy. And one of the most debated decisions of the war, the Germans halted their advance on Dunkirk. What became known as the Halt Order did not originate with Adolf Hitler. General Obersters, Colonel General Gerd von Rundstedt, and General Oberst Gunther von Kluge suggested that German forces around the Dunkirk pocket should cease their advance on the port and consolidate to avoid an Allied breakout. Hitler sanctioned the order on May 24th with the support of the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, German High Command. The army halted for 3 days, which gave the Allies time to organize the Dunkirk evacuation and build a defense line. More than 330,000 Allied troops were evacuated to Dunkirk, but the British and French forces sustained heavy casualties and nearly lost all of their equipment. Around 16,000 French and 1,000 British soldiers were killed during the evacuation. The British Expeditionary Force lost some 68,000 soldiers during the campaign. Right prelude. On May 10th, 1940, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister of the UK. By the 26th of May, the BEF and the French First Army were bottled up in a corridor to the sea, about 60 miles deep and 15 miles wide. Most of the British forces were still around Ryle, around 40 miles from Dunkirk, with the French further south. Two massive German armies flanked them. General Theodor von Brock's Army Group B was to the east, and General Gerd von Rundstedt's Army Group A to the west. Both officers were later promoted to field marshals. Alright, the halt order. Okay, so Holder, in a letter of July 1957. During the following days, it became known that Hitler's decision was mainly influenced by Goring. To the dictator, the rapid movement of the army, whose recent prospects of success he did not understand because of his lack of military schooling, he became almost sinister. He was constantly oppressed by a feeling of anxiety that a reversal loomed. Alright, so he's just telling him, like, this dude was fucking paranoid, like, he wanted to keep going. I'm not sure how things would have turned out if they actually stopped. Fucking, just from this shit alone is to, it's like, no, we can't stop here. We gotta keep on fucking pushing them back. I mean, they did hit their blitzkrieg strategy during that time, so I mean, they did have to eventually run out of gas. You can only keep like your soldiers up for so long with just straight giving them fucking meth and just like, here's some meth, that way, kill anything in your way. Fucking, just a methed out army moving. Like, you guys hear things? I'm hearing things. Oh, I feel so much energy. Okay, so Major Alec Ellis. Here's what he said. The day's entry concludes with a remark. The task of Army Group A can be considered to have been completed in the main, a view which further explains Rundstedt's reluctance to employ his armored divisions in the final clearing up stage of this first phase of the campaign. Franz Holder, written in his diary on May 30th. Dear diary, Bostitch is angry. The pocket would have been closed to foster only armor and not then heavy back. The bad weather has grounded the Luftwaffe, and we must now stand and watch countless thousands of enemies get away to England right under iron noses. Alright, definitely read that shit in the wrong voice, just like, the Russian is angry. That sounds a bit Scottish. Okay, so Kilzer Lewis C, Hitler's traitor, Martin Bormann, in the defeat of the Reich General Hans Jesselnick, overheard Hitler explaining his halt before Dunkirk. The Fuhrer wants to spare the British a humiliating defeat. Hitler there explained to a close friend, the blood of every single Englishman is too valuable to shed. Our two peoples belong together racially and traditionally. That is and always has been my aim, even if our generals cannot grasp it. Okay, so on May 24th, Hitler visited General von Rundstedt's headquarters at Charleville. The terrain around Dunkirk was thought unsuitable for armor. Von Rundstedt advised him the infantry could attack the British forces at Arras, where the British had proved capable of significant action, while Clay's armor held the line west and south of Dunkirk to pounce on the Allied forces retreating before Army Group B. Hitler, who was familiar with Flanders marshes from the First World War, agreed, and this order allowed the Germans to consolidate their gains and prepare for a southward advance against the remaining French forces. Alright, so they're just consolidating their power over here. They're like, we beat their asses back to this line. That's fine for now. Fucking, we've got other fish to fry in the south of France, okay? But we has got to position back. The Allied forces' destruction was thus initially assigned to the Air Force, while the German infantry organized in Army Group B. Von Rundstedt later called this one of the greatest turning points of the war. Yeah, because pairing. The true reason for the decision to halt the German armor on May 24th is still debated. One theory is that von Rundstedt and Hitler agreed to conserve the armor for Fall Rot or Case Red, an operation to the south. It is possible that the Luftwaffe's closer ties and army to the Magic Party contributed to Hitler's approval of Goring's request. as necessary, which few historians has given reasons, was that Hitler was trying to establish diplomatic peace with Britain before Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union, although von Riestedt after the war stated his suspicions that Hitler wanted to help the British based on alleged praise of the British Empire during a visit to his headquarters. Little evidence that Hitler wanted to Allies escape exists apart from a self-explanatory statement by Hitler himself in 1945, after he was killed. Well, the year he was killed or when everything ended. The historian Brian Bond wrote, few historians now accept the view that Hitler's behavior was influenced by the desire to let the British off lightly in the hope that they would then accept a compromise peace treaty. Let's not forget that Hitler was fucking methed out of his fucking mind at the time, because anyone can look into his doctor and the shit he was giving him. Like, he was fucking doing a bunch of meth just with like everyone else. And also, let's not forget a lot of the shit people aren't talking about is that this guy was the dictator of a country. And yet, anyone only ever really hears about Ava von Braun, and that's, later on in things. And I'm not sure about you, but a dictator and their wife is, you know, always something that is ever changing. I mean, at the end of the day, there can only be one supreme leader, and it's that dude's not gonna let it be here. He's like, bitch, I will throw you into a lion cage. Like, talk back to me. Like, you are, you are replaceable, because probably Hitler was just fucking a bunch of other women there, at least in the 40s, especially, coming up and creating the Nazi Party, because, there's always going to be those fangirls that are like, oh, yes, it is sure God should be close to you. Because is my only goal is to get close to the floor. You know, those kind of things. Okay, so the British is definitely forced it, but this hardly squares with the contemporary record Directive number 13 issued by the Supreme Headquarters on May 24th, called specifically for the annihilation of the French, English, and Belgian forces in the pocket, while the Luftwaffe was ordered to prevent the escape of the English forces across the Channel. Ugh, man. Whatever the reasons for Hitler's decision, the Germans confidently believed that Allied troops were doomed. American journalist William Shire reported on May 25th German military circles here tonight put it flatly. They said the fate of the great Allied army bottled up in Flanders is sealed. BF Commander General Lord Gort, Commander-in-Chief, CMC, the BEF agreed, writing to Anthony Eden. I must not conceal from you that a great part of the BEF and its equipment will inevitably be lost in the best of circumstances. This course, Hitler did not rescind the halt order until the evening of May 26th. The 3 days thus being gave a vital breathing space to the Royal Navy to arrange the evacuation of the British and Allied troops. About 338,000 men were rescued in about 11 days. Of these, some 215,000 were British, 123,000 were French, and up to 102,250 escaped on ships. Alright, the battle, fight back to the west. On May 26th, Anthony Eden told Gord that he might need to fight back to the west and ordered him to prepare plans for the evacuation, without telling the French or the Belgians Ord had foreseen the order, and preliminary plans were already in hand. Bill was playing chess and thinking ahead. The first such plan for a defense along the Lys Canal, could not be carried out because of German advances on May 26th, with the 2nd and 50th Divisions pinned down and the 1st, 5th, and 48th Divisions under heavy attack. The 2nd Division took heavy casualties trying to keep a corridor open, being reduced to brigade strength, but they succeeded. The 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 42nd Divisions escaped along the corridor that day, as did about one-third of the French First Army. As the Allies fell back, they disabled their artillery and vehicles and destroyed their stores. Straight fucking burn it. As that is one of the things about military tech is like you're not supposed to leave your shit there in the field or like some kind of like special plane or whatever. Like you blow that shit up, you destroy it, like nobody gets anything. Incineration, delete, vaporize, didn't exist, was never here. You get no proof. We'll straight up take your president out. We'll send a nuke over there to Iran. We'll find your president in his bunker. Your 86-year-old president, he gets a nuke to the head. I'm telling you. On the 27th of May, the British fought back to the Dunkirk perimeter line. The Barbarous Massacre took place that day when the 3rd SS Division, Topkapouf, well, maybe not, machine gunned 97 British and French prisoners near the Las Bassines Canal. The British prisoners were from the 2nd Battalion, Royal Norfolk Regiment, part of the 4th Brigade of the 2nd Division. The SS men lined them up against the wall of a farm and shot them all. Only 2 survived. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe dropped bombs and leaflets on the Allied armies. Okay, so 2 guys got like... holy shit. Had they thrown them up against the wall, executed them all. Somehow 2 guys survived, and they just let those 2 guys go, or they were like, you know what, you somehow survived the execution, you guys get to live, get the fuck out of here. My fella's like, alright, who's the 2 that fucked up? Finish your work. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe dropped bombs and leaflets on the Allied armies. The leaflets showed a map of the situation. They read in English and French. British soldiers, look at British soldiers. Look at some map that gives you true situation. Your troops are entirely surrounded. Stop fighting. Put down your arms. To the London ear, minded Germans, the sea seemed an impassable barrier, so they believed the Allies were surrounded by the British on the sea as a threat to safety. Besides the Luftwaffe's bombs, German heavy artillery, which had just come within range, also fired high explosive shells into Dunkirk. By this time, over 1,000 civilians in the town had been killed. This bombardment continued until the evacuation was over. Just running fucking strafes across them. Alright, so Battle of Wichita. Wichati? Yeah, Wishati. Wishati. Gort had sent Lieutenant General Ronald Allen, commanding 3rd Corps, ahead to build the defensive perimeter around Dunkirk. His corps command passed to Lieutenant General Sidney Rigby Wasson of the GHQ staff. Lieutenant General Alan Brooke, commanding the 2nd Corps, was to conduct a holding action with the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 50th Divisions along the Ypres Comedies Canal as far as Yassir. While the rest of the BDF fell back, the Battle of Wichita over the border of Belgium was the toughest action Brooke faced in the role. On May 26th, the Germans made a reconnaissance in force against the British position. At midday on the 27th of May, they launched a full-scale attack with 3 divisions south of Ypres. A confused battle followed, where visibility was low because of forested or urban terrain and communications were poor because the British at the time used no radios below battalion level and the telephone wires had been cut. The Germans used infiltration tactics to get among the British who were beaten back. Dude, they straight sent fucking spies into their camp and just caused all sorts of misinformation and chaos. Like, I can definitely see a German soldier putting on a British uniform, just going in and, you know, who here can speak the best English? I can. Alright, you're gonna go in, just spread chaos and information, just, well, everything is just completely fucking disarray. Oh, man. Spy tactics, people. The heaviest fighting was in the 5th Division sector. Still, on May 27th, Brooke ordered the 3rd Division commander, Major General Bernard Montgomery, to extend his division's line to the left, thereby freeing the 10th and 11th Brigades, both of the 4th Division to join the 5th Division at Messines Ridge. The 10th Brigade arrived first to find the enemy-headed wings. So far, they were closing on the British field artillery between them. The 10th and 11th Brigades cleared the ridge of Germans, and by May 28th, they were securely dug in east of Wichita. Wichita Shed. Wichita Shed. Welcome to Wichita Shed. Alright, so that day, Brooke ordered a counterattack. This was to be spearheaded by 2 battalions, the 3rd Grenadier Guards and the 2nd North Staffordshire Regiment. Both of Major General Harold Alexander's 1st Division, the North Staffords, advanced as far as the Lee River, while the Grenadiers reached the canal itself, but could not hold it. The counterattack disrupted the Germans, holding them back a little while longer while the BUF retreated. Action at Poperinghe. Yep, Poperinghe. Okay, so the route back from Brooke's position to Dunkirk passed through the town of Poperinghe, known to most British soldiers as Poperinghe, where there was a bottleneck at a bridge over the Yser Canal. Most of the main roads in the area converged on that bridge. On May 27th, the Luftwaffe bombed the resulting traffic jam thoroughly for 2 hours, destroying or immobilizing about 80% of the vehicles. Another Luftwaffe raid on the night of 28th, May 29th, was illuminated by flares as well as the light from burning vehicles. The British 44th Division, in particular, had abandoned many guns and lorries, losing almost all of them between Poperinghe and the Mont. Holy shit. Okay, so I just want to run that right back. Now, May 27th, the Luftwaffe bombed the resulting traffic jam for 2 hours. 2 hours these guys are trying to retreat, get the fuck out, and just causing a jam. They got bombed for just 2 straight hours of just being stuck in one fucking place. That is terrifying and insane. Like, just stuck in a car while things are just being fucking bombed all around you. Just boom, boom, boom. Oh, that is an unsettling fucking feel. You know, there must have been at least one of those psychos out there, and, you know, one of those little German Luftwaffe's part of the rages, just like, I can see a bunch of people running this way, like, let's bomb them, follow them, like, where's the timing on this? Just straight crazy shit. Like, it sounds like they chased them. Clearly they did, like, no exaggeration. Alright, the German 6th Panzer Division could probably have destroyed the 44th Division at Operange on May 29th, thereby cutting off the 3rd and 50th Divisions. As well, the historian and author Julian Thompson calls it astonishing that they did not, but they were distracted investing the nearby town investing the nearby town of Castle. Okay, so this says investing, not like investing and investigating the nearby town of Castle. I'm pretty sure that's what they meant. Okay, so Belgium surrender. Fort had ordered Lieutenant General Adam, commanding Third Corps, the French General Fagaldi, Fagaldi, to prepare a perimeter defense of Dunkirk. The perimeter was semicircle, with French troops manning the western sector and British troops the eastern. It was ran alongside the Belgian coastline from Nieuwepoort, in the east via Vern, Botskamp, and Burgess to Gravelines in the west. The line was made as strong as possible under the circumstances. On May 28th, the Belgian army, fighting on the Lage River under the command of King Leopold III, surrendered. This left a 20-mile, 32-kilometer gap in Fort's eastern flank between the British and the sea. The British were surprised by the Belgian capitulation, despite King Leopold warning them in advance. As a constitutional monarch, Leopold's decision to surrender without consulting the Belgian government led to his condemnation by the Belgian and French prime ministers Hubert Thurlow and Paul Renaud. Gort sent the battle-worn 3rd, 4th, and 50th Divisions into the line to fill the space the Belgians had out. So they literally pulled out their army. These other two are just completely shit out. Like, you fucking pussy. You're pulling out your troops now. We gotta send our guys that just got fucking handed back out there to fill those lines. You motherfuckers. Like, oh, I could feel that anger just hearing that. Like, they fucking, what? Oh, those. Mm. Oh, you could definitely sense the hostility fucking there. Just. This is just like old Parliament. These fuckers used to getting like straight up fist fights. Fist fights in Parliament, Congress, up there on the battlefield, and fucking name it, it's going down. Alright, so while the 3rd, 4th, and 50th Divisions were still moving into position, they ran headlong into the German 256th Division, which was trying to outflank Fort's forces. Armored cars of the 12th Royal Lancers stopped the Germans at Nieuwepoort. Itself, a confused battle raged along the perimeter throughout May 28th. Command and patrol on the British side disintegrated, and the German forces drove the perimeter inwards towards Dunkirk. Meanwhile, Rommel had surrounded 5 divisions of the French First Army near Lille. Although completely cut off and heavily outnumbered, the French fought on for 4 days under General Molini in the siege of Lille, thereby keeping 7 German divisions from assault on Dunkirk and saving an estimated 100,000 Allied troops in recognition of the garrison's stubborn defense. After it's surrounded, German General Kurt Wagner granted from the honors of war, saluting the French troops as they marched past the parade, formation with rifles shouldered. Alright, looks like my thing's dying here. I need to get this charged up real quick. That's going to be an interesting one. Okay, there we go. That's charging, and let's finish this up. Or, well, keep going. You know what I mean. The Dunkirk defensive perimeter held until the end of May, with the Allies falling back by degrees. Roughly on May 31st, German units nearly broke through at Newport. The situation was so desperate that two British battalion commanders manned a Bren gun, one colonel firing and the other loading. A few hours later, British troops were routed near Furness. The 2nd Battalion, Coastern Guards of the 3rd Division, rushed to reinforce the line. Guards restored order by shooting some of the fleeing troops and turning others around at bayonet point. The British troops returned to the line and beat back the German assault. In the afternoon, German units reached the perimeter near the canal at Wolfskin, but the foggy ground on the far side of the canal and sporadic fire from the Durham light infantry halted them. As night fell, the Germans massed for another attack at Newport. 18 RAF bombers found Germans while they were still assembling and scattered them with an accurate bombing run. I love how they put accurate bombing run. Like, they could have said bombing run or like a strafe run. They were like, no, it was a very accurate one. Also, on May 31st, General von Kulcher, yeah, looks like how you say it, assumed command of all the German forces at Dunkirk. His plan was simple: launch an all-out attack across the whole front at 11 on June 1st. Strangely, von Kuchler ignored a radio intercept telling him that the British were abandoning the eastern end of the line to fall back to Dunkirk itself. During the night of the 31st of May to June 1st, Marcus Urban Andrews won the Victoria Cross in the battle when he defeated 1,000 yards, or 910 miles of territory. He defended 1,000 yards. Okay, he defended it. You ever have a little more where you read something and you're like, oh, wait a second. Okay, so the morning of June 1st was clear, with good flying weather, in contrast to the bad weather that had hindered air operations on the 30th and 31st of May. There were only 2.5 good flying days in the whole operation, although Churchill had promised the French that the British would cover their escape. On the ground, it was mostly the French who held the line, whilst the last remaining British and then French soldiers evacuated. The outnumbered French and British defenders endured concentrated German artillery fire and Luftwaffe strafing and bombing and stood their ground. Holy shit. The English were already retreating before the French. I mean, it is France's backyard. Fucking at the end of the day, they were like, hey, we're just visiting here, man. And like, we're a lot closer to home than we are. Like, we need to get the fuck back. We need to get out of here quicker than you guys do. Like, fuck. Like, go on, you bastards, get out of here. I don't know why I gave it the Irish accent, but you can fucking believe I did. Alright, so yeah, remember French British soldiers, German, traded German artillery fire on Luftwaffe strafing bombings around June 2nd. The last day of the British units were embarked onto their ships. The French began to pull away slowly, and by June 3rd, the Germans were about 2 miles from Dunkirk. The night of June 3rd was the last night of evacuations. At 10:20 on June 4th, the Germans hoisted the swastika over the docks from which so many British and French troops had escaped. The resistance of Allied forces, especially French forces, such as French 12th Motorized Infantry Division from the Fort des Dunes, had bought time for the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of troops. The Wehrmacht, the Wehrmacht captured some 35,000 soldiers, almost all French. These men, these men had detected the evacuation until the last moment and were unable to embark. The survivors of the French 12th Motorized Infantry Division, particularly of the French 150th Infantry Regiment, were taken prisoner on the morning of June 4th on the beach of Malo Les Bains. The flag of this regiment was burnt so as not to fall into enemy hands. Evacuation. Alright, so the War Office made the decision to evacuate British forces on May 25th in the 9 days from the 27th of May to June 4th. 338,226 men escaped, including 139,997 French, Polish, and Belgian troops, together with a small number of Dutch soldiers, around 861 vessels, of which 243 were sunk during the operation. The Lindo Hart wrote that Fighter Command lost 106 aircraft over Dunkirk, and the Luftwaffe lost about 135, some of which were shot down by French Navy and the Royal Navy. MacDonald wrote in 1986 that the British losses were 177 aircraft and German losses 240. The docks at Dunkirk were too badly damaged to be used, but the east and west walls, seawalls protecting the harbor entrance, were intact. And then the lieutenant in charge of the evacuation decided to use the east mall to load the ships. This decision increased the number of troops that could be embarked each day, and on May 31st, more than 68,000 men were embarked in the harbor and the beaches. The last of the British Army left on June 3rd, and at 10:50, Lieutenant signaled Ramsay to say operation completed, returning to Dover. Churchill insisted on the Royal Navy going back for trapped French soldiers, and the Royal Navy returned on June 4th to rescue as many as possible of the French rearguard. More than 26,000 French soldiers were evacuated on the last day. Between 30,000 and 40,000 others were left behind on the Dunkirk perimeter and captured by the Romans. According to author Sean Longden, between 40,000 and 41,000 British soldiers were taken prisoner. Around 16,000 French soldiers and 100,000 British soldiers died in the evacuation. 90% of the city of Dunkirk was destroyed during the battle. The aftermath following the events at Dunkirk, the joint forces regrouped before commencing Operation Fall Rot, a new assault southward starting on June 5th. The French soldiers were then evacuated from Dunkirk, were landed in other parts of France a few hours later to try to stop the Americans, and 2 fresh British divisions were moved into France in an attempt to form a second attack. But British war leaders decided on June 14 to withdraw all remaining British troops, an evacuation called Operation Ariel. On June 25th, almost 192,000 Allied personnel, 144,000 of the British, had been evacuated to various French forts. Although the French army fought on, German troops entered Paris on June 14th. The French government agreed to an armistice at Compiègne on June 22nd. The loss of British and French material on the beaches was enormous. The British Army left enough equipment behind to fit out about 8 to 10 divisions. Discarded in France were, among other things, huge supplies of ammunition, 880 field guns, 310 guns of large caliber, some 500 anti-aircraft guns, about 850 anti-tank guns, 11,000 machine guns, nearly 700 tanks, 20,000 motorcycles, and 45,000 motor cars and lorries. Officers told troops falling back from Dunkirk to burn or otherwise disable their trucks so as not to let them benefit the advancing forces. Alright, I'm not sure if those things were managed to get saved or if they were destroyed. It sounds like, yeah, they left a lot of material. Alright, so they said they left behind material. Not that it was working material, just material, just anything metal. They were like, it's material they left behind. Alright, so army equipment available at home was only just sufficient to equip two divisions. The British Army needed months to resupply properly, and some planned introductions of new types of equipment were halted while industrial resources concentrated on making good the losses. So yeah, they needed to shore back up those numbers. The shortage of army vehicles after Dunkirk was so severe that the Royal Army Service Corps, the RASC, was reduced to retrieving and refurbishing obsolete buses and coaches from British scrapyards to press them into use as troop transports. Just cut off the top, put a tarp like, we got an army bus now. It's all good. Uh, it was a perfectly good roof, sir. No, not an army style one. We need a tarp. We need something more inconvenient that can rip it any second and just downpour on you. Okay. Some of these antique workhorses were still in use as late as the North African campaign of 1942. On June 2nd, the Dean of St. Paul's, Walter Matthews, was the first to call the evacuation the miracle of Dunkirk, because why wouldn't they want to frame it in a more positive manner? We didn't lose it. What we did was we got a bunch of troops out of there. We saved them. We got them out. As opposed to the opposite. Because, strategy. I mean, Germany trying to take on Russia and them just throwing the fucking waves of bodies at them. Oh, the Germans. I mean, there's a reason why they say, like, all wars stop at Stalingrad or, something along those lines, or, like, an invasion of Stalingrad, since just the winters up there just being fucking insane and harsh. It's like, nah, our people here are used to it. You motherfuckers aren't. Like, get ready for real warfare. Get ready for warfare there, bud. Okay, so, following... Ah, okay, yeah, this is St. Paul's Walter Letters, Battle of Dunkirk. During the following week, papers were filled with letters from leaders making an obvious association. It was remembered that the Archbishop of Canterbury had announced that the day of national prayer might well be a turning point, and it was obvious that God had answered the nation's collective prayer with the miracle of Dunkirk. The evidence of God's intervention was clear for those who wished to see it. Papers had written of calm seas in the high mist, which interfered with the accuracy of German bombers. So they had the mist over them protecting their ass, especially in the morning when they're like, alright, mist there on the water, like, we'll use that as cover, let's get the fuck out. That was Duncan Anderson. A marble memorial to the battle stands at Dunkirk. The French inception is translated as to the glorious memory of the pilots, mariners, and soldiers of the French and Allied armies who sacrificed themselves in the Battle of Dunkirk, May to June 1940. The missing dead of the VEF are commemorated on the Dunkirk Memorial erected by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. After Dunkirk, a considerable number of British troops were positioned in France to the south of the River Simone. These included some 140,000 men, mostly logistic support and lines of communication ships, also including the 51st Highland Division and the remnants of the 1st Armored Division. On June 2nd, Lieutenant General Brooke was ordered back to France to form the 2nd BAF, together with two further infantry divisions to follow a project which Brooks said was doomed to failure. It's like, I don't want to fucking do this, it's gonna fail. Like, don't make me. Sir, you have to. Oh, you guys are trying to just fucking set me up. Like, who wants my position? Why are they trying to throw my ass into meat grinder? Right, so most of the 51st Division was cut off at the St. Valery and Cox on the Chanel Coast, and surrendered. Learning of this, Brooks spoke to Churchill by the telephone on June 14th and persuaded him to allow the evacuation of all remaining British forces in France in Operation Ariel. 144,171 British, 18,246 French, 24,342 Polish, and 1,939 Czech troops were embarked in ships at several major ports along the west coast of France and returned to England along with much of their equipment. The only major mishap was the sinking of RMS Castria with the loss of 3,500 to 7,000, of whom at least 1,000 were civilians. The last British troops of France on June 25th and the day of the French armistice to force. Right, so the Dunkirk spirit. British press later exploited the successful evacuation of Dunkirk in 1940, in particularly the role of the Dunkirk ships very effectively. Many of them were private vessels such as fishing boats and pleasure cruisers. Commercial vessels such as ferries also contributed to the force, including a number from as far away as the Isle of Man and Glasgow. The smaller vessels guided by naval crafts across the channel from the famous estuary and from Dover assisted in the official evacuation, being able to move closer into beachfront shallows than larger craft. The little ships acted as shuttles to inform the larger ships, leveling troops who were moved to remain in the water. Many leading chivalry in water powers. The term Dunkirk spirit refers to the solidarity of the British people in times of adversity. Dunkirk Medal. A commemorative medal was established in 1960 by the French National Association of Veterans of the fortified sector of Flanders and Dunkirk on behalf of the town of Dunkirk. The medal was initially awarded only to the French defenders of Dunkirk, but in 1970 the qualification was expanded to include British forces who served in the Dunkirk sector and their rescue forces, including the civilians who volunteered to man the little ships. The design of the bronze medal included the arms of the town of Dunkirk on one side and Dunkirk 1940 on the reverse. Okay, so getting into it a little bit more, the Western Front, which was one of the main things for the Battle of Dunkirk. The Western Front was a military theater of World War II encompassing Denmark, Norway, Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. The Italian Front is considered a separate but related theater. The Western Front's 1944-1945 phase was officially deemed the European theater by the United States, whereas Italy fell under the Mediterranean theater along with the North African campaign. So they literally threw Italy, they threw the Italians in with the North Africans. And they were just like, oh yeah, that's all one battle right there. Just that country and that continent. This one country and this one continent versus, these other countries on here. Oh, they really just threw them. Okay, so the Western Front was marked by two phases of large-scale combat operations. The first phase saw the capitulation of Luxembourg Netherlands, Belgium, and France during May and June 1940 after their defeat in the Low Countries and the northern half of France, and continued into an air war between Germany and Britain that climaxed with the Battle of Britain. The second phase consisted of large-scale ground combat supported by a massive strategic air war considered to be an additional front, which began in June 1944 with the Allied landings in Normandy and continued until the defeat of Germany in May 1945 with its invasion. Okay, so some of the major attacks and things going on were like Rotterdam after the Blitz, the Battle of Britain, Canada paratroopers, the Operation Market Garden, American troops running through Wurmberg, Germany, siege of Bastogne. Okay, so click down. Alright, so it seems like some of the major leaders in there for, the British side was Lord Fort or John Verker's 6th and Viscount York. Okay, so this guy was the Field Marshal John Standish Surtees Pendergast Verker 6th Viscount York. He was born on July 10th, 1886, and died March 31st, 1946. He was a senior British Army officer. As a young officer during the First World War, he was decorated with the Victoria Cross for his actions during the Battle of Canal du Nord. In the 1930s, he served as chief of the Imperial General Staff, the professional head of the British Army. He is best known for commanding the British Expeditionary Force, BDF, that was sent to France in the first year of the Second World War, only to be evacuated from Dunkirk near war. Later served as governor of Gibraltar in Malta, the High Commissioner for Palestine in Transjordan. The High Commissioner for Palestine in Transjordan. Really? Okay. Okay. Alright, so High Commissioner of Palestine in Transjordan in office from November 1st, 1944 till November 5th, 1945, monarch George IV, preceded by Sir Harold McMichael, succeeded by Sir Alan Cunningham as governor of Malta, in office from May 7th, 1942 till September 26th, 1944. Monarch Sir George IV, preceded by Sir William Dobby, succeeded by Sir Edmund Schreiber. Governor of Gibraltar, Monarch George IV, preceded by Sir Clive Liddell, then succeeded by Sir Norman Mason McFarlane. Okay, so this dude was born John Standish Sturdy's Pendergast Burger on July 10th, 1886, Westminster, London, England. He died in Southwark, London, England, at age 59. His spouse was Pamina Burker, parents of the 5th Viscount Fort, Eleanor Surtees, relatives of the 1st Viscount, D. Lee Isle, son-in-law. Parent was the 5th Viscount Fort, and 1st Viscount Fort, the Isle, is the son-in-law, nicknamed Tiger. Allegiance, United Kingdom, family service, British Army, rank, Field Marshal, commands British Expeditionary Force, Chief of the Imperial General Staff, Staff College, Camberley Guards Brigade, 1st Battalion, Grenadier Guards, 4th Battalion, Grenadier Guards, Veteran Wars, First and Second World War. He was also awarded the Victoria Cross, Knight Knight Green Cross of the Order of the Bath. Knight Green Cross of the Order of the Bath. Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Distinguished Service Order in 2 bars. Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Military Cross. Mentioned in dispatches, which seems to be 9. Man, he's got whole other thing like his early life, First World War, Interwar, Second World War, death, family, betrayals. Ooh, arms. It's arms. Oh shit! His own coat of arms. Okay. So the crest, armor, crown, dials a stag, head proper. Okay, so this is. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see it about there on or whatever, but no, that's definitely a future project to have. So this was the Battle of Dunkirk, famous people. Any love you can show me in general, I'd definitely love to not walk with a limp, get the leg fixed, and just try to support myself doing something that I love. So, thank y'all. Bye.